Power is not always seized through force. Sometimes it is quietly taken through a glance, a hesitation, or a slightly prolonged pause. Machiavelli recognized this insight long before psychology gave it a name. Most people reveal their true selves not through actions, but through emotions, not through outright betrayal, but through the tiniest breaks in their facade. Once you start leaking, you've already lost. The dangerous part is that often you don't realize you are leaking. The emotions that give you away are not loud, neither happiness, anger, nor fear. They are subtle and soft, slipping out in casual words, micro-expressions, and delayed pauses, those small details that make you predictable, easy to read, and easy to manipulate. Machiavelli never concealed his outer self. Instead, he buried his true core. Because once someone understands what unsettles you, they gain power over you not through force, but through insight. If you desire an impenetrable mind, one that cannot be manipulated, bent, or broken, you must erase three emotions from your outward behavior. The first is eagerness. Eagerness is not the same as enthusiasm or motivation. It is a desperate signal that you crave something: attention, approval, status, opportunity, more than you want to admit. In that signal lies your vulnerability. The moment you appear eager, you create a power imbalance. You silently communicate to the other person, "You possess something I want." That gives them leverage. This happens in job interviews, relationships, negotiations, and even casual chats. You lean forward too much, agree too quickly, respond before the question is finished, excessively praise, and try to prove you're worthy of being chosen. In doing so, you prove you are not. Machiavelli would say, "The one who chases is already beneath the one who withholds." Eagerness makes you readable, and readability destroys mystery, yet mystery is half of power. When you enter a room with eagerness in your eyes, people instinctively undervalue you. They might not say it or consciously notice it, but they feel it. Your need empowers their confidence, while your detachment creates doubt in them. This is where control begins. To neutralize eagerness, train yourself to slow down, not your thoughts, but how you express them. Speak after a pause. Nod sparingly. Let silence fill the spaces where others hurry to agree. Give the impression you are observing and calculating, not proving. Because in any setting, the person who appears least eager seems most in control, not because they have more, but because they need less. Consider how often you expose yourself in messages sent too quickly, double texts when unanswered, compliments that sound like pleading, arriving too early, or saying yes too fast. That's not confidence, that's exposure. Machiavelli would warn, reveal nothing unless it benefits you. The second emotion is even more perilous, because it disguises itself as authenticity, but is actually a trap. Conflicted admiration. This is the subtle expression you wear when you respect someone but resent that they have what you desire. This emotion manifests as backhanded compliments, praising someone while subtly comparing yourself, aligning with those slightly more successful, yet never fully accepting their status. The moment someone detects this in you, two things happen. They see that you desire their position, and they realize you will never truly support them. From then on, you're viewed not as an ally, but as a threat hiding behind a false smile. This feeling is toxic. It's born from insecurity but cloaked in admiration. Even casual observers sense the tension. Your eyes say one thing, your tone says another. That's all it takes to lose respect. Machiavelli would have eliminated this behavior from anyone in his circle, knowing that admiring what you envy is surrendering to it, while resisting it reveals your weakness. True power demands full admiration or none at all, never both. If you study someone, do so quietly, without praise or openly, with grace and without bitterness. This middle ground, the emotional limbo of admiration mixed with resentment, exposes your internal conflict. And once that happens, you become transparent, no longer impenetrable. To overcome this, you must examine your comparisons. Who are you secretly watching? Whom do you praise but feel uneasy around? Who makes you feel small, even if you hide it? This feeling must be erased, not because it's wrong, but because it's visible. And visibility equals vulnerability. There's a third emotion more hidden, even more dangerous, and more common than you realize. You'll recognize it soon. This third feeling, which nearly everyone reveals unknowingly and which Machiavelli would have deemed the deadliest, is anticipatory doubt. It's not fear. Fear reacts to threats. Anticipatory doubt leaks out before any threat arises. It's the subtle lowering of your voice before asking a question, the hesitation before deciding, the small disclaimer before speaking. I might be wrong, or this probably won't work, but I'll try. You might not notice it, but others do, especially those eager to challenge you. Anticipatory doubt is the emotion of someone mentally bracing for failure, not outwardly, but within. It shows in your posture, your energy, and how you look at others when presenting an idea, as if seeking permission. It appears in how you preemptively reject yourself before anyone else can. Machiavelli would call this suicidal not because it makes you weak, but because it invites attack. It silently broadcasts, I don't fully believe in myself, so if you want to strike, now's your chance. Whether in politics, power struggles, relationships, or everyday life, this signals predators. Confidence isn't about always being right. It's about never showing weakness. When your presence reveals internal doubt, you trigger others' instincts to test your strength. Not always done with malice, sometimes unconsciously, but the outcome is the same. You lose control. This explains why those who speak slowly, pause deliberately, and convey certainty even if they aren't necessarily more knowledgeable are often viewed as leaders. Not because their answers are superior, but because they reveal less internal turmoil. That's what people are drawn to. To overcome anticipatory doubt, you must stop voicing your insecurities. You need to kill the habit of seeking approval before acting. When you have an idea, state it confidently. When uncertain, proceed with calm, regardless. When questioned, resist the urge to defend immediately. Instead, allow others to sit in the discomfort of your silence. Power resides not in your responses, but in the absence of anxiety behind them. Here's a deeper insight Machiavelli grasped. Feeling eagerness, conflicted admiration, or anticipatory doubt is natural. You cannot always prevent these emotions from arising, but you can prevent them from showing. That is the essence of the Gamano, becoming emotionless, but becoming unreadable. People aren't telepaths, they read bodies and energy. They notice how you breathe, pause, change your tone with the subject, how often you say, I don't know, and how you look when challenged. Every subtle signal reveals your vulnerability. If you want an impenetrable mind, your task is to stop sending those signals, cut off the transmission. Mute the leak not through force or false toughness, but through deliberate presence. Every word must be chosen, every expression intentional, every silence meaningful. The more unpredictable you become, the stronger you feel. The less others understand what moves you, the more they have to guess, and guessing wears them down. That's your edge. You become the person no one can truly readan, thus, no one can confidently manipulate. What follows? Once these three emotions disappear from your visible behavior, you don't just feel stronger, you actually become stronger. People respect your boundaries more, interrupt you less, and weigh their words carefully around you. Why? Because they can't tell where you stand. Mystery exerts its own pull, attracting others not through noise, but through silence. Machiavelli termed this the art of concealment, not hiding everything, but selectively shielding the parts that could be exploited. He knew empires crumble when rulers become too familiar, too exposed, too emotional. So he advised leaders to build walls not physical, but behavioral. Walls made of pauses, posture, patience. Walls designed not to repel, but to control what others see when they enter. You don't smile excessively. You don't laugh at everything. You don't rush to clarify misunderstandings. You let people sit with the tension. And in that tension, you dominate not through aggression, but through stillness. You become untouchable not by fighting harder, but by leaving nothing to attack. That is the hallmark of someone truly formidable. Not the one hiding in shadows, but the one standing in plain sight, revealing nothing. Once you eliminate these three emotional leaks: eagerness, conflicted admiration, and anticipatory doubt, a strange transformation occurs. The world begins to treat you differently, not because you've grown louder or more aggressive, but because you've become unreadable. And being unreadable is terrifying to the weak, yet alluring to the powerful. When you enter a room, no one can quite figure you out. Are you impressed? Threatened? Interested? They don't know. So, they adjust. They try harder. They reveal more just to elicit a reaction from you. In that shift of dynamics, you move from being on trial to being in control. That's exactly what Machiavelli aimed for. A mind unbreakable under pressure, a presence immune to manipulation even from those who hold leverage. In a world filled with emotionally transparent people, desperate to connect, explain, or be understood, the one who withholds becomes a fortress, not cold or heartless, but inscrutable. This is what unsettles people. This is why they respect you without fully understanding why. This doesn't mean you become robotic. It doesn't mean you kill empathy or the ability to connect. It means you choose when to reveal and when to withhold. You transition from automatic expression to deliberate, strategic disclosure. Everything you do becomes a decision, a signal, a move of power. Someone praises you, you nod once. Not dismissively, but because you don't need validation. Someone insults you, you don't defend yourself. You let silence fill the space and let them explain. The more they talk, the more their insecurity shows. Someone brags in your presence, you stay still. That stillness cuts deeper than any sharp retort. Because once you stop reacting or proving yourself, you become impervious to manipulation. That immunity radiates. People sense it. They can't pull you into their frame. They can't bait or trap you. Instead, they orbit you not out of fear, but because your silence forces reflection. Machiavelli would say this is where power becomes self-sustaining. You stop chasing control, you attract it. You don't have to flaunt strength. Your restraint is proof enough. Most importantly, you no longer hand others the blueprint to break you. These three emotions are that blueprint. Eagerness reveals your desperation. Conflicted admiration exposes your insecurity. Anticipatory doubt signals where to apply pressure. Remove those signals, and there's no crack to exploit, no seam to tear. You remain human, still feeling, but no one watching can figure out how to push you because nothing leaks. And that makes you unnerving. Unnerving is powerful. It makes others tread carefully, plan more, and choose their words thoughtfully around you. In that cautious space, you gain time to observe, time to evaluate, time to decide who deserves your access and who doesn't doubt. Once your mind becomes impenetrable, you start seeing clearly who attempts to breach it not through physical force or obvious moves, but psychologically using flattery, competition, emotional traps, passive aggressional tactics aimed to unsettle you. But they fail because there's nothing to grab onto. You stay focused, composed. You don't explain your ambitions. You don't justify your detachment. You hold back your opinions until you've fully assessed the environment. And when you do speak, your words are precise, decisive, and deliberate. You don't speak to explore, you speak to command. Machiavelli said, "He who reveals his mind too easily becomes subject to those who understand it better than he does." This is the downfall for many. They think sharing everything shows honesty, nobility, or transparency, but it only leaves them open to interpretation. The more emotional information you reveal, the more room others have to judge your value, motives, and limits. When you reveal nothing, however, they must rely on your actions, and unlike emotions, actions can be controlled and shaped. That's why those with true power don't announce their feelings. They don't say, "I'm off today," or "I'm nervous." They don't sigh loudly, hoping for attention. That's low-level exposure, emotional generosity that costs more than it returns. Instead, they operate under constant tension, like oxygen is essential. Their expression stays steady, their pace doesn't falter, their posture remains firm. This rare consistency is intimidating because rarity breeds status. Want to rise? Become rare. Want to dominate? Become unreadable. Want an impenetrable mind? Start by stopping the leaks. Don't send signals to those who haven't earned the right to read you. Once you silence these leaks and turn your restraint into a weapon, something deeper emerges, not only power over others, but sovereignty over yourself. This is the mastery Machiavelli sought, not just external control, but internal rule. The truth is, most people are prisoners of their own emotional habits, not by threat or force, but by routine. They feel, so they express. They desire, so they pursue. They doubt, so they hesitate. And with every move, they broadcast their vulnerabilities. But you're different now. Before you speak, your mind calculates. Before your face reacts, discipline takes charge. You don't speak on impulse, you speak from authority. When others notice this, when they realize they can't predict what will move, impress, or provoke you, they instinctively raise your status in their minds. Unpredictability triggers hierarchy. The less readable you are, the more powerful they believe you to be. And here's the truth, they're right. When you stop leaking emotions in every interaction, you conserve power. And power, when preserved, compounds. Your words gain weight. Your presence sharpens. People prepare more before addressing you, not out of fear, but because you've taught them to respect the silence. You've trained them to approach with purpose, not noise. This is how influence operates, not by being the loudest, but by being the hardest to sway. And here lies Machiavelli's true brilliance. He didn't preach coldness. He championed strategy. He understood that emotionally transparent people are easier to control. So the aim wasn't to eliminate emotion, but to manage it, to refine it, delay it, and wield it when it counts. You still experience eagerness, but you don't reveal it. You still admire, but you don't let it turn into comparison. You still feel doubt, but you don't broadcast it before testing. This is the essence of an impenetrable mind. You feel deeply, yet leak nothing. Now, the world can't predict you. Let them try. Let them analyze every pause, every withheld glance, every delayed nod. The more they attempt to decode you, the more uncertain they grow, and uncertainty breeds hesitation. That's your advantage. While they hesitate, you act. While they guess, you decide. While they attempt to understand you, you're already several steps ahead, making moves they didn't anticipate. This is how power quietly builds in the space between your emotions and their expression. You realize your silence speaks louder than most voices. Your refusal to be provoked intimidates more than any show of force. And the most dangerous person in the room isn't the one shouting, it's the one who stands steady through fire without flinching. This is the conduct of rulers, strategists, those who don't merely survive the game but shape it. But be clear, this path comes with a cost. You will lose people, those craving immediate access to your thoughts, constant emotional reassurance, or effortless connection. They'll label you distant, cold, even arrogant. Let them. Let them define what they cannot grasp. Because connection based on your vulnerability isn't true connection, it's consumption. And those who only understand you when you bleed are not allies, they're addicts. You don't exist to satisfy others' emotional needs. You exist to build, and building demands energy, focus, and silence. So you build silently. You rise without performing. You remove emotional signals, not to become hollow, but to become precise. Eventually, those who once demanded your openness will either fade away or evolve. They'll learn to respect your boundaries or be replaced by those who do. This kind of mind doesn't attract everyone, it repels most. And that's the point. An impenetrable mind isn't adored by many, it's respected by few. And respect, unlike fleeting attention, lasts. After mastering silence, people start to see you differently, not merely with curiosity, but with caution. They can't place you, they can't chart your inner world, and that uncertainty turns you into a mirror reflecting their own insecurities. You haven't uttered a word. You haven't confronted them directly, yet your unreadability forces them to face what they're unconsciously revealing, and they resent it. This is where real psychological gravity forms. Your presence no longer asks for attention, it commands it. Not through volume or charm, but through the absence of emotional permission. You don't invite people into your mind. You make them earn access. And by doing so, you invert the power dynamic. They begin seeking your approval, your reactions, your attention, and that longing bends them. It makes them deliberate, cautious, selective. That's influence. Machiavelli would remind you, power isn't found in being liked, it's found in being regarded as dangerous, not aggressive, not ruthless, but unreadable, deliberate, unshaken. When someone attempts to read you, provoke you, or guilt you, and none of it works, they begin recalibrating around your energy. You're no longer a person, you've become a force. And forces aren't debated, they're adapted to. The three emotions you've removed, eagerness, conflicted admiration, and anticipatory doubt, weren't inherently flaws. The issue was their timing and transparency. You gave others the tools to manipulate you. Now, you don't even hand them the map. This transformation doesn't just alter how others perceive you, it shifts how you perceive yourself. You begin to recognize how often you've weakened your own stance by over-explaining, apologizing too much, reacting unnecessarily, by trying to be relatable instead of unforgettable, by seeking inclusion instead of legacy. That previous version of yourself is gone. Now, you move with purposeful restraint. You recognize your presence as your leverage. Every gesture, every pause, every sentence either sharpens or dulls that leverage. And you choose precision over comfort. You no longer fill every silence. You don't tone down your intensity for palatability. You don't compromise your discipline to make others feel at ease. You embody the calm of someone who doesn't need to be understood, only respected. That's your edge, and it unsettles people. They search your face for cues. They test your resolve just to see if you'll flinch. They speak more when you say less because they're trying to regain control. But every second you remain unmoved, they realize they've already lost it. This is where you become formidable, because you've exited the emotional game and entered the energy game, and your energy is no longer something they can trigger with praise or suppress with disapproval. It's stable. It's sovereign. It's yours. That's what makes you impenetrable. But don't be naive, people will still try, especially when they can't read you. They'll bait you, hoping you'll bite. They'll feign vulnerability, hoping you'll mirror it. They'll try to manipulate you not to bond, but to break your stance. Don't take the bait. Let it sit. Let the silence stretch. Let the tension build until it cracks them, not you. When someone tests your edge and finds no limit, they begin to believe you have none. That's power, not through force or loud proclamation, but through the quiet, gradual unraveling of their belief that they can control you. Once that belief fades, they submit not out of fear, but out of respect. Because they now realize you don't need them. Not their approval, not their praise, not their understanding. What you've built transcends charm, you've built presence. And when the final shift happens, when your emotions vanish from visibility, when your energy is untouchable, and your silence slices sharper than words, you cross into something else entirely. You stop being seen as just another person in the room. You become a presence, something people register before you speak, something they can't define but instinctively respect, or fear, or both. This is the apex of Machiavelli's vision, not merely knowing power, but embodying it. Because a mind that cannot be penetrated doesn't need to demand respect, it creates an environment where disrespect is unthinkable. People don't even consider challenging you, not because you appear dangerous, but because they can't read you. And what can't be read can't be predicted. What can't be predicted can't be controlled. This is where true dominance begins. You become the one others calibrate around, the one whose opinion is valued but never begged for, the one whose validation matters precisely because it's rarely given. People begin to speak more carefully around you. They choose their words more thoughtfully. They ask questions with precision, not out of fear, but because your stillness demands awareness. And awareness, in itself, is submission. Machiavelli knew that most rulers fall not by the sword but by the mirror, by exposing too much, by speaking too freely, by reacting too soon. In doing so, they give their enemies the tools to destroy them. But you revealed nothing, no doubt, no desperation, no buried envy. Those doors are shut. And what's left is a stillness that can't be touched.